visiting Marsh, Billings, Rockefeller National Park. And this is an interesting place because it's all about conserving land and good practices for farming, maintaining forest lands, and it was very interesting. I know that there's a movie out there about them, and so I will find that and link that down below in the video description. So let's go for a walk. Behind me is the Marsh, Billings, Rockefeller mansion. And one of the things that's interesting is that Billings was survived by daughters. When he passed away, his wife and 3 daughters continued to run the farm and establish it to be renowned for bringing back farming, reforesting the nearby countryside, and also conservation of the land and the forest. Then Mary Billings married one of the Rockefellers, who was also an environmentalist. And from there, they furthered their goals of conservation. You're quite the cutie. walking. If you feed her. Like a big kid at Disneyland, I'm getting ready to go through the Ben&Jerry's factory for a tour. And I just had a big meal too at the Von Trapp Lodge. So there's always room for ice cream, right? Last night was the coldest night so far since I've been on my trip. It got down to 43 degrees. I wasn't sure I'd be warm enough, but I was. I think with the foam cushions that I sleep on, which are about 4 inches thick, that are high density foam, and a winter sleeping bag, I was fine the whole night. So bring on the colder weather. Whenever I come to a war memorial where they have the names of the lost written out, I always am surprised and saddened by the repeated names from a family who lost loved ones during the war. And on this one, there's quite a few repeats of names. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 with the same last name. I think that might be the most listed here. But I just think of how hard it must have been to lose so many in the Korean War, which is what this memorial is for. And I haven't even looked over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And this is the Vietnam Memorial, 1961 to 1975. And I went to the War Memorial in DC with my Aunt Betty when she was alive. And her and I just stood there at that wall, looking at the names. And at that point, and still this point, there are a lot of family members that are still alive who lost siblings who went there. And we put our hands on the names, and there were places where loved ones had tucked little notes of love and loss into the crevices of the memorial. And Aunt Betty and I together stood there arm in arm and started crying. And then you come down here, we have the missing in action and killed in action. So there are a lot lot of people who have died. And many still say, you know, Vietnam wasn't really a war. It was a political action because the war was never declared. And I didn't realize until recently the impact of it not being a declared war has on those soldiers who went to war. It affects their benefits, the families' benefits, and so not being a declared war is even a greater hardship on those who have survived.